Blessings to the this episode of Sit and Talk. It used to be Walk and Talk, now it's Sit and Talk, and this is my safe haven. This is my go-to place since I've been here in Spain, where I get to truly be by myself. This is where I recharge my batteries. This particular spot and this particular tree has become one of my closest companions. Today I want to share something that I'm currently just moving through today, and it is about balancing, and in my case balancing spirituality and money. As I've shared before, a lot of my focus, a lot of my attention right now currently is going into the realm of finances, and I'm educating myself in terms of how to build a sustainable financial foundation. As I've shared before, I have previously in my life earned lots of money, but I didn't have the financial education. I didn't have the financial literacy to put the money to good use. But much of it went into providing a good life for myself and my family, obviously. But as I've been here this last year, I haven't been working all that much, and obviously since my work and since my finances have been very closely tied together, the more I worked, the more I earned, and the less I worked, the less I made. And so as I'm now currently not even working at all, it means that the only sort of income I have is from the passive income that I have built over the years, and I'm very, very grateful to even have that. It's a couple of $1,000s each month, and it is that money that has allowed me to live this life, to be able to go here and spend this year not having to work. I've wanted to work, and that's a whole nother story. I got so bored with doing nothing. But and I was having such a beautiful day yesterday. This last week, these last couple of weeks maybe, have been magnificent in terms of me fully resting. I've always had that sense that I need to get somewhere. I need to get from where I am to where I want to be. So there's always been that sense, and as in my mind, as financial income has been intimately tied to my effort and to the hours that I put in order for me to get to where I wanted to go, how it worked itself out in my mind was that I needed to do more, right? Doing the same amount or doing less would not get me to where I wanted to go in terms of financial freedom and independence. And now these last couple of weeks, as I've begun to find ways, as God, as life has shown me ways to take that passive income, and obviously with effort, it's not going to happen by itself, but I need to put my attention on it. I need to change my course of action and my course of moving. I need to begin to do things in a different way. Unless we change, nothing changes, right? But much of it is tied to income. And as I'm not working here in Spain, we're leaving here in a couple of weeks. going back to Sweden. And once back in Sweden, I'll go back to freelancing as a sales associate with this company. And over the years, I absolutely hated it. I absolutely hated it. But it was a means. It was a means to an end. It was a means to provide for my family. It was a means to provide for the beautiful life that we lived. But now, since this course correction in my life, and what I'm looking into is beginning to invest not some of the money that flows in, but most of it, to build a portfolio of different kinds of investments that allows, over time, it's not going to happen overnight, but that allows for this financial passive income to be accrued month after month after month, and with years it'll begin to build, and over the course of years it'll come to the point where it is self-sustaining. And I actually, this is not what I intended to speak about, but this is what is coming through. So as every idea, or actually as everything begins with an idea, as everything begins with a vision or intention or a goal, working with these sacred laws, we need to be clear on what it is that we wish to experience. And so I found myself maybe earlier this week or last week, I don't remember, but I found myself actually setting a goal. I don't usually do goals. I don't usually do visions, for the simple reason that it is attaching myself. Holding a vision, holding a goal is attaching myself to a particular outcome. And I want to give, so I usually work more with intentions, qualities or feeling tones, to give spirit free rein to move me in whichever direction the better fit for me, right? But last week or early beginning of this week, I found myself setting a goal, and it's not the end goal. I realize that, and I know that, but it is a beginning. It's the starting point, and the starting point for me is to have $15,000 coming in passively, recurringly each month. Not tied to my efforting, not tied to how many hours I put in, but passively, right? And that I want to have this in place, this system that generates that kind of money in place in 2 years. I was going somewhere. Yes. So I have that in place. I am studying. I'm listening to, I believe I mentioned the books, Rich Dad and Poor Dad, or Poor Dad and Rich Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I'm also listening to, what's his name? Tony Robbins. He's got this book, Money Something, which deals about investments. And I'm actually going to put the links to these two books because they are invaluable resources. And the former Kiyosaki's book, it is more about entrepreneurial mindset, whereas Tony Robbins' book, he's always very, that's my impression at least, he's always very practical, very hands-on. So it is a very practical guide, and if you're watching this or listening to this, I can strongly recommend that book because he talks about the 401k and how it is a total rip-off in many cases, and all these different myths around building financial sustainability or financial freedom or independence. He busts those myths and he lays out a beautiful plan. Not his plan, but having interviewed, I believe he mentions at least a lot of the wealthiest investors in the world, on the planet, and asking for their strategies and asking to get into their minds. And from these interviews and from the research that he's done, he lays out this beautiful plan to begin to move into financial independence and financial freedom. What I was gonna say was that now that this is all in motion, I'm very clear on what it is that I wish to experience in the terms of this goal, $15,000 passively coming into my account every month, and I'm doing my part. I'm steeping myself in the consciousness. I'm studying. I'm listening to these books, both of these books, for like 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day, all over and over and over again. Repetition, repetition is the key to learning anything. So I'm treating my mind to think differently around money. I'm treating my mind to see new possibilities around entrepreneurial skills and financial wealth, mindset, and all these kind of things. But I'm not in the place to put it into action yet. So these last couple of weeks have been so beautiful, and I was talking to a friend about this yesterday, that I don't think I've ever been as relaxed. I mean, I have nothing to do all day. Nothing to do at all. At the beginning of this year, I started moving towards freelancing copywriting and incorporating that into my business. I've completely released that because that is not the path forward for me, at least not at this time. So all I need to do, obviously I still need to tend to the kids, make sure that our daughter gets to school and that she gets back from school. I need to obviously be there for our son, making sure that because he's homeschooled, or more or less distance schooled at least, making sure that he does what he needs to do, and that he has all the help and assistance that he needs to matriculate through this grade that he is in. But apart from that, I have nothing to do. There's nothing on my calendar. There's nothing on my schedule. I just lay around all day in this beautiful weather, in this beautiful place, just enjoying, basking in the sun, having either Tony Robbins or Kiyosaki in my ears, just listening over and over and over again, soaking it all. I'm like a sponge. And I've never been this relaxed. And this is actually what I really wanted to talk about until this morning, as pieces are beginning to fall into place with us moving back to Sweden. I especially partly yesterday and especially this morning, I became aware of residual thought patterns of lack and scarcity, and this is not possible, and oh, this is too much work, and all those kind of things. The egoic structures have been made alive and active. I've become aware of them, and they have been a part of my experience, particularly today. And it wasn't until I came to the park, until I sat down at this tree, that I realized that in this copious study of money and how money flows and cash flow and all these strategies and all these things, I've sort of forgotten the spiritual aspect. And this is so typical me, that I get so absorbed with something that I forget the foundation. And even though I'm not practicing and I'm not teaching spiritual principles and practices in the way that I used to, especially now teaching, I still need to sustain that foundation. That is my sanity foundation. Coming back to gratitude, coming back to the nowness of this moment, coming back to thanking God for this beautiful life, this beautiful place, for all the things that are emerging into my life, this beautiful adventure that I'm on. And establishing, and not only establishing, but sustaining that conscious connection. That is my foundation. I must not forget it. I have forgotten it. Hence the turbulence. But the moment I became aware of it, I moved into meditation, I moved into gratitude, and just came back to the nowness at this moment, because it was time that was messing things up for me. It was time that made things turbulent. My mind began to venture into Sweden, coming back, and the journey back home, and yesterday things came up, and I was brought back like a couple of years to what my life looked like a couple of years ago, and I revisited that, and I became aware of fears of going back to Sweden and actually going back to that place 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. So it was time that messed things up. It was time that made things turbulent, and my being hijacked by time. So the moral of this story and the takeaway for me is to always remember to put Spirit first. Whatever I move into, whatever I go through, to always come back to Spirit, to always come back to having that conscious conversation, to always come back to prayer, all these beautiful spiritual principles, to have sanity, to have balance. And I actually made some phone calls this morning, and I did take action from this very turbulent space, sort of fearful space. Luckily, I did not get a hold of the person I was trying to get a hold of, because taking action from that sense of separation, from that sense of lack and scarcity, it is never fruitful. It is never optimized. But we're so much better well off coming back to balance, coming back to peace, coming back to... So right after I'm done recording this is the time for me to make that call, because now I'm soaring in a high vibration. Now I'm open to possibilities. Now I'm open to Spirit guiding and leading and moving me in a beautiful way. And then this is the topic, I guess, is to always begin with Spirit. To always begin with Spirit. To choose God first. To choose peace first, and then move into action. So I could go on and on and on, but I've talked for long enough. But life is good. And it is so easy. It is so simple. Not always easy, but it is so simple. 20 minutes of meditation, a few minutes of gratitude, and boom, just boom, something happens, and I'm lifted up. So I want to thank you all for being here. It is my I'm glad to be back, and I'm glad that I get to share this journey with you. It will continue. So until the next time, much love and many blessings to you all. Bye bye.